The 1982 horror film Poltergeist is still one of the best supernatural movies of all time. The story follows the Freeling family as they move into a new home haunted by a dark entity. What you may not know is that Poltergeist was inspired by the true story of unexplained phenomena which began at the home of James Herrmann. The Herrmann family, composed of James Herrmann, his wife Lucille, and their teenage children, Lucy and Jimmy, resided in a suburban home in Seaford, New York, a community in Long Island, during the month of February in 1958. On the afternoon of February 3rd, Lucille was home with her children when all three of them heard unexplained popping sounds coming from all around the house. They discovered that bottles of common household liquids like cleaning products had spontaneously burst their caps, their contents erupting everywhere. Altogether, bottles containing nail polish remover, peroxide, rubbing alcohol, liquid starch and bleach had all burst. A bottle of holy water in the bedroom was also knocked over on its side, spilling the liquid. When the popping finally stopped, the Herrmanns were understandably unsettled. Lucille called James, at his work, Air France in New York City. James assumed the popping was the work of local teenagers who were pulling a prank. He told Lucille not to worry and told the family not to tell anyone. For the next few days, things went back to normal. 2 days later, on a Thursday, the popping happened again, at around the time the children came home from school. Then the next evening, more bottles popped open. James came up with a theory as to the identity of the culprit, his 12-year-old son Jimmy, who loved science. James figured that Jimmy had rigged the bottles with carbonation capsules and timed them to explode at the same time. James observed Jimmy closely all weekend, but found no evidence that his son was behind the phenomenon. On Sunday, when even more bottles exploded, James confronted his son, but Jimmy denied it. While they were talking, a bottle of shampoo moved on its own and fell off the counter. Eventually, James accepted that Jimmy was innocent. At a loss for any other logical explanation, James decided to call the Nassau County Police Department, where he spoke with Lieutenant E. Richardson. When James told Richardson the story, the officer thought he was either drunk or playing a practical joke. But James seemed sincere, and since he had a good reputation in the community, the lieutenant agreed to send someone out. The police department sent patrolman James Hughes to investigate the Herrmann's home. While the patrolman was interviewing the family in the living room, everyone heard a noise from the bathroom. Once again, medicine and shampoo had spilled on their own. The patrolman noticed no loud noises, tremors, or other disturbances coming from the house during this time. Stumped, Hughes passed the case on to his superior, Detective Joseph Tozzi. Detective Tozzi spent 8 weeks investigating the house. On the first day, he discovered that a bottle of perfume had tipped over and spilled in Lucy's room on its own. On the second, while investigating the basement, a 100-pound bronze horse figurine reportedly flew across the room on its own and struck the detective in the back of the legs. Detective Tozzi kept meticulous notes but came up with no explanation for the activity. The day after Detective Tozzi's investigation, James's cousin Marie Murtha was watching television with Jimmy and Lucy when she saw a porcelain figurine lift off the coffee table, move several inches, and drop to the carpet. That's when the Herrmann family, devout Catholics, turned to the church. Father William MacLeod, of the Church of St. William of the Abbot, arrived and sprinkled holy water in each of the house's 6 rooms. Despite this, the paranormal activity continued. By February 10th, 1958, news of the poltergeist had reached the media. It became a national news story and was featured on the drama anthology series Armstrong Circle Theatre, where it was titled House of Flying Objects. One headline read, "Balmy Bouncing Bottles Jar, Long Islander's Home." Newsday reporter David Kahn visited the Herrmann's home and personally witnessed a cardboard globe move across the room on its own. Thinking Jimmy had thrown it, Kahn went upstairs and found the Herrmann's son in his bed. All of the media attention led concerned citizens and self-appointed experts to send in their theories about what was behind the phenomena. Altogether, about 250 phone calls and letters came in. They suggested things like aliens, Satan, electromagnetic fields, sunspots, or a secret Soviet submarine causing magnetic field disruption. Others thought spirits were responsible and believed they were punishing the Herrmanns for a sin they had committed. Religious groups reached out to offer help, and ministers held services on their lawn. Detective Tozzi consulted with nearby experts who might plausibly know something about the events. He checked with the local Air Force base, Mitchell Airfield. Air Force officials said their planes didn't fly in the area and couldn't produce an effect that would cause the phenomena in any case. Next, Totsi consulted with the Radio Corporation of America to determine if the disturbances might be caused by radio waves, to no effect. Then he approached the Long Island Lighting Company. An inspector used an oscilloscope in the basement in an attempt to pick up underground vibrations but found nothing. Eventually, the case caught the attention of Dr. Gaither Pratt and William Roll from the Parapsychology Laboratory at Duke University. The professors theorized that in extreme situations, people, and especially young people going through puberty, might be able to move objects with either their minds or their emotions. They traveled from Durham, North Carolina to Long Island to investigate the Herrmann's home. When Pratt and Roll arrived, the disturbances were becoming less frequent. The professors interviewed the family and zeroed in on adolescent Jimmy as the most likely source. The professors believed Jimmy was angry with his father. They believed he was unconsciously moving the objects with his mind, partly because he was going through puberty and partly because of his unresolved feelings. They also theorized that because many of the exploded objects had feminine connotations, this meant Jimmy might have unmet dependency needs. The saga of what was referred to as Popper the Poltergeist ended much like it began, with 3 incidents. On March 2nd, 1958, a dish broke, and a bookcase and a table both fell over. It was the last time the Herrmanns heard from the poltergeist. Between February 3rd and March 2nd, there were 67 documented disturbances in the Herrmanns' home. There has never been proof of what caused the paranormal activity. If you've made it this far, many thanks. Please like and subscribe to the channel as it really helps the channel to grow and create more content just like this.